So let's speak now about bearish planets. What will be the bearish planets? Well, almost the opposite or the rest of planets we haven't scanned in the bullish one. But let's discover them together. The first bearish planet that I would pick will be Neptune. Neptune, the ruler of the 12th house, the ruler of Pisces. Because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, is water, is feminine, is old, is illusion, it's depressive, it's already tired. What are the conditions for bearish environment? Of course, we are dealing with issues of fear, doubt, uncertainty, right? What are those planets that engaging us with those characters? Well, the fear is not always with Neptune, but it's still existing. Some old people afraid from death. But it's more with the illusion, is more of the feeling of loss, feeling of lack of purpose, feeling of why it's for. And when people are engaged with so much emotions, we are connecting it with feminine characters, right? It's creating doubt, uncertainty. You don't see the future. What does give future usually in the bullish planets is Jupiter. Jupiter, Sagittarius, ruling the purpose, you know for what. Mars give you the drive to do something. But depends when Mars is traveling in the chart. It also could initiate extra illusion. And I'm often reminding that combination between Mars and Neptune are very malicious, because Mars wants to start something that is leading for end and loss. And this is very creating a weak Mars and provoking bad people, sneaky, tricky projects that you want to avoid. And Pisces or Neptune are ruling of bubbles, illusion. The opposite of euphoria is illusion, or the parallel of euphoria is illusion. To the moon, to the moon, to the moon. And yes, I saw very interesting aspects that I will teach in the toward the end of the process, toward the module 4. Neptune transits created very crazy peaks moving higher to the moon, that what brought after this major crash. The illusion is very Neptunian, but we still consider it to be bearish. It's confusing, and always with all action, even if Neptune will create aspect that will take the movement very sharply higher parabolically, it will create a lot of losses in the other sides, as it usually happens. But in these specific aspects with Neptune, it will create a lot of illusion, delusion, and euphoria that will create a lot of damages and bad karma. Another planet that is bearish, but not very bearish, more frustrating and creating stagnation, because this is the disadvantage of the AstroFinance method, that is hard to predict side move in the market. Not always we have parabolic, and not always we have down. We also have the stagnation movement. And the stagnation movement most of the time, or what will create breaks in the system, is our lovely Saturn. Saturn putting the heaviness is the breaks of the motto. And Saturn is what element? Saturn? Who remembers? Saturn is Earth. Is the highest quality of Earth. And it's feminine, despite of its rigidness. It's a feminine that creating vessel of structure. So we need this structure when we are forming a pattern. Saturn is helping, and we need to do corrections, but it's not a correction. It's like exhausting the markets, exhausting the traders. Only those that can breathe for long term will continue with Saturn. So it's semi-bearish. Another planet that is semi-bearish and depends what aspect and very hard to predict is Uranus. And we know that Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, the 11th house. Those are two last signs of the zodiac. But we also know that Uranus is relatively new discovered planet, that before discovered, Saturn was responsible on those two. Here in the 11th house, when we are now recognizing ruled by Uranus, we are having from one side control. Here we arrive to the peak and a need for loss. So in the aspect of Uranus, we can get spikes, and spikes are very hard to predict. They will come in a non-very logic timing and in not very logic velocity. So we need to be very careful with Uranus, and I will share later on to the process of the course what and how I'm learning to relate with Uranus, and still it's deserve a lot of observation from you once you will see how I'm working with it. Another planet that is half or maybe 3/4 bearish is Chiron. Chiron is the ruler of the 6th house. And we know that 6th house is ruling, it's of the sign Virgo. And also by the ancient, Mercury is ruling Virgo. And here we are going to have the little correction that are mostly speaking about Chiron, because it's a wounded healer and it's about healing and correction. We may speak about both sides correction. It also will work like Uranus, and Chiron is part of the belt of the planet Uranus, and it will create more of like this correction that will take us slowly and unexpectedly to a level of correction, but not in a dramatic way. and sometimes just will do the little, because Mercury is the little moves. But Chiron usually will speak to what I saw about correction down, and we will need to be very careful with Chiron, because Chiron, that is the ruler of Virgo, is coming after the 5th house, that is Leo. And in the month of Leo, or in the energy of Leo, we will get a lot of enthusiasm. And after there's so much enthusiasm and party, Chiron needs to clean a little bit the dirty glasses and the dirty money that was on the floor or behind the carpet. And the real bearish planet that we are all afraid of is Pluto. Pluto, the ruler of the 8th house. We know the enemy of Venus, and it's the ruler of Scorpio. So it's water, feminine, and related to depth, loss, bankruptcy. We know that the 12th house and the 8th house are related to losses and bearish environment. Those are water. So also, sorry for the mess, the 12th house, Neptune, the 8th house, Pluto, and the 4th house, that is ruled by the moon. So also aspect with the moon, celestial illuminary, that with the things that will happen with the moon shortly can be bearish, because it's the ruler of fear and emotions. And we know that the moon is the ruler of the nodes, because the circle of the moon is what affecting the ecliptic axis, when most of the evolutionary changes due to the emotional changes are happening. In the next class, we're going to discuss about bullish periods and bullish combinations.